Hello and welcome back. Here he is, the dragon. We're going to be, well, if you saw this video, you will understand why he's here. So if you haven't seen that, you probably won't get why I'm working on this one. So here he is, the unfinished dragon. So this is kind of weird for me because I normally, when I sculpt, I just get in my zone basically and just do what I want to do, maybe headphones on and just lose myself in what I'm doing. So this is probably like the first time I've ever sculpted on demand. So I'm just gonna do some, you see this, I don't know if you can see this bit here, but like the tail area here. My thought with this is, remember the egg. This egg is from Glastonbury. It's energy, good energy, takes away negative energy, which was the whole purpose of this dragon. So I've been thinking about it, and I think I want to put the like the egg on, so the egg will sit on the, it's really hard to get a camera angle, but basically the egg will sit on the tail. I want the tail to kind of entwine around the bottom of the egg, and then the egg sit in the tail. That's what my plan is anyway. I don't know how long this video is going to be, by the way, because I've never done live sculpting, as I said, so I don't want to bore you because you know it is what it is. So my thought with this is to be able to sculpt this the shape that I want to put this egg in, I probably need to start off by making a egg shape out of this, because that's going to be way too heavy to work with. So I'm going to start to make an egg and see if I can get it to the same sort of size as that, so that I can bake the tail in the oven, and then once it's all hard I can put the heavier egg back on. That being a crucial point, to put that sort of weight onto this tail, this tail's got to have some structure, some substance to it, otherwise it's just gonna break basically. So there's a lot to think about here, because once that's baked, you can't take off. You can put more on, I mean, unless you want to get a saw on it, which I don't really fancy doing, but I've got to basically try and get this right. So on the first go, basically, so that when the tail's cooked, I can just place that egg straight on and it will sit nicely and do exactly what I want it to do. And then I've got a lot of plans for this. I think it's going to be in stages, so what I'm going to probably end up doing is 2 or 3 videos on this, but I think I'll break it up with some other stuff as well. I'd really like to tell you the story about this guy behind me as well. There's a really funny story to that, because I mean, it's quite an unusual sculpture, right? I mean, there's a story, and it's a mad one as well. So I might share that with you just as a, I don't know, there's a message in that story as well. I won't spoil the content on that, but I will do that one. I think I'll do this one, the first one with this dragon now, see if we can get the tail ready for the oven, and then I can bake it, and then we can come back and I can try and put the egg on and see if it all works out okay. Fingers crossed. Right, this egg looks a lot bigger. Looks a lot bigger, but the beauty of tin foil is, with a bit of persuasion, you can get it to shrink down to a size that you need it to be, and that's what I'm doing now. It's just about, I mean, it doesn't have to be 100%. It's really the bottom that I need to be representative of the egg, because otherwise when I bake it, and I'll take this out and try and put the egg in, it won't go in. A little bit more on the bottom, I think. We're close. We're pretty close. But I think it needs to be a little bit fatter at the bottom there. So I'm going to put a little bit more on there. And if you're watching these videos and you've never done polymer clay, I'd just say to you, just give it a go, because you just don't know, you know. I mean, just give it a go. I mean, to start with, you know, you'll just probably just make little bits and pieces and think, like, oh, I'm rubbish at this. But as you well know, and the people that have already watched some of my other videos, you know, I think we all start a journey with it, and then at some point it just comes good, you know. And I think that's it, and that's what its attraction is, because you're constantly pushing yourself, and eventually it comes good. So, and you know, it's so relaxing, therapeutic. Being creative in general is really cool. I love being creative. Right, it's really hard actually to tell whether that is the right dimension or not. I guess it is, not far off. I'd probably rather it was a bit fatter anyway, because I don't, the last thing I want is to get this tail out of the oven and this doesn't fit, because then that whole thing would have been a waste of time. But I think we're pretty close. If anything, I think the tin foil is slightly bigger, which is probably best. Okay, so looking at this, it's really hard to show you guys. I want to see what I'm trying to do here. Here he is. Right, so the idea is, it's all reverse on the camera. That's not working. The idea is, no, too close. Right, there. The idea is that this tail, which is a separate thing as well, this isn't actually attached fully to the dragon yet. Yeah, this tail is gonna basically have some, I've got to now think of some way of, as it comes up, it's got to get smaller, but it's got to entwine the egg, and then the egg can kind of sit somewhere like that. Yeah, he looks really weird from this angle. He looks like he's like, yeah. He looks better up here. So yeah, I'm waffling now, but yeah, we need to make something to hold this egg now. I think that probably should finish off this tail. Right, now if you haven't seen my earlier videos about softening polymer clay, then this will look quite weird to you. But here's one I prepared earlier. Go and watch the video, you'll know exactly why I just did that. And look, I mean, I've had that on me for, I guess, about an hour or so. And look, I mean, you know how hard and rock hard this stuff is. Look at it. I mean, that's like ready to go, isn't it? I mean, just give it a good old squidge about and you're off and running. So, as I said in my early videos, it's the only way I've found to speed the process up, because like I said, when I start sculpting, I really just want to get going. I don't want to be waiting around for clay to soften and do all its stuff. I want to just go for it, you know. And this is going to be interesting because this has orange in it as well, but I want the bottom of the tail to be darker, because of the egg being the colour it is. To make it stand out more, I want the end of the tail to be quite dark, so it gives the egg a chance to really be a feature. So I think what I'm going to do is going to overlay some clay up through here in a darker colour. And hopefully it'll look alright and it won't look silly or bad, you know. So it's only one way to find out, right? You just got to go for it. And when you're working with a clay, I tend to work with relatively small bits at a time, but the one thing I learned when I was starting off, and as I've told you in previous videos, I'm not trained in sculpting, I'm not a sculptor. This has all just come from playing around with it really, but I found one thing with clay, you should let it, when I first started I was really sort of like, you know, if it didn't, because when it touches, it almost connects straight away. But I'd want to move it. I'd be like, oh, I don't want you there, I want you here. And I'd be forcing it, and I'd be forcing or pulling it off and putting it back on. And one thing I've learned myself, I mean, it might not work for everybody, but let the clay decide where it wants to be. Stop forcing it to go where it, you know, let it, the clay knows where it wants to be, basically. Trust me. The stuff I've done where I've just let the clay lead the way is way better than the stuff where I forced it. You know, it's so much better if you just let it do what it wants to do. You know, I believe it's got its own little mind in there somewhere. It just knows where it wants to sit, where it wants to, how it wants to be. Now with these dragons, I mean, I've only done one, but this is just all up, this is in my head, all of everything. This is not a copy of anything, it's not something I've seen anywhere, it's just coming out of my head. But it's like a united thing between me and the clay. The clay's doing its thing and I'm doing my thing, and between us we end up with something, hopefully, that's pretty cool. That's the way I like to look at it. But when you're doing like Jack Sparrow and stuff like that, obviously same thing applies. You've got to let the clay do what it wants. And as you saw in that video, if you haven't seen it, as you saw in that video, once I changed my mindset and relaxed and let the clay start to do its thing, things started to happen basically. So yeah, I don't know, there's no, I think you need to properly relax. Trust the clay, you know, trust it to just do what it wants to do, and good things will happen. I mean, I'm just placing stuff on here and just building up some texture really, and it was fine, you know, it'll look great. Have faith. Dragons are all scaly and blobby and yeah. So I don't need to get too worried about this, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's my creation. There's no rules. You know, as I said before in other videos, as long as I like it, then that's it. I'm not trying to please anyone else. I'm trying to please myself here. So don't be too hard on yourself. Don't judge yourself too much on what you're doing, because half of it is just having fun, you know. Just enjoy what you're doing. And like I said, just let the clay, I mean, if I wasn't on camera, I'm doing this for you guys, but if I wasn't on camera, obviously I'd have some music going, and I'd be, yeah, I'd be having, well, I'm having fun now, don't get me wrong, but I'd be just in my zone, you know. It's just so relaxing. The clay is great. Now it's warmed up inside me. I probably should put that back in my shirt, actually, that other piece. But yeah, just let the clay decide where it wants to go. Look, you know, it'll find its little path where it wants to go. It'll create a texture, it'll create a look. And you don't need to sweat the small stuff, as they say. Just let it do its thing. And when you're doing something like this, where it's not like a famous person, or there's no rules, you know, you just make it up as you go along. And I think that's like this thing here. There was a little bit behind that, but I'll tell you the story on that one. That's quite hilarious, actually. But, it's a very unusual sculpture, but it's definitely got a story behind it. that I'll share with you in the next video. It'd be good to do something like that to break it up, because I don't want to just do loads and loads of building the dragon videos. You know, what I'll do is I'll pop in some other videos, and then with these other unfinished sculptures, I'll make several of them, and I guess it's on the channel. I think you can do like a playlist. I'm not too sure on how that will work yet, but I think it allows you to sequence stuff that, like with this, several videos of the same project or whatever. So I'll look into that, and I can get all these set up in that format. But honestly, you know, this stuff is just so cool. Oh, I didn't put it away, did I? Let's get this away. It's just so cool though, you know, it's just, I love it. It's just, my dream is to do this full time. I'd love to do this full time. I really would. Just get on with it every day. And you know what, I'm really enjoying being on here as well. I know it's early days yet, but the more people find me and the more they come onto the channel and stuff, it makes a big difference, you know. I hadn't really thought about it before, but because it's weird though, isn't it? Because when I started Polymer Clay, the first thing I did was watch about 200 videos on YouTube, and it really inspired me. And I probably should go back over those videos and find the people that inspired me and give them a shout out, because I wouldn't be here today really without them inspiring me. There's some really cool people, and they've still got their channels going as well. And although they probably, some of them weren't doing the sort of stuff that I wanted to do, it was just the encouragement that they gave, you know, to just give it a go. And yeah, I'm forever grateful to those lovely people for what they did, really. So let me know if you guys are actually doing Polymer Clay. I mean, I'm assuming you are if you're watching this, unless you're just interested, maybe. I mean, even if you don't want to do it, you know, all the time, you know, it's just cool stuff to have around the house. You know, you never know when you're watching a film or whatever, and you just like, oh, a little play with clay. Yeah, it might be something you start off slowly with, and then you just sort of like get more into it. I know there's a lot of women that do really well with jewellery and stuff, and it's a great product for jewellery. So maybe that might appeal to some people. And if anyone wants to get into the bigger stuff like I'm doing, because I honestly still struggling to find anyone else that makes anything on the same scale as me. I mean, I must be mad. I'm the only one that's doing it on the really big scale, you know. But I was just seeing if I could get this to oh yes, it's on the move. He's on the move. Look, haha. I just felt you were a bit far away, so I was just gonna, oops. Just gonna try and get him a bit closer to you, really. See, another thing, when you're moving clay around that hasn't been baked, don't get too bent out of shape over moving it, and it's so repairable. It's so, you know, as I said before, I think that the features, whether you've knocked it, dented it, whatever you've done to it, it's a rustic thing, you know. Stop worrying. Just throw it around. Throw it around. Smooth it down. Put it in the oven. No need to fret. No need to worry. You know, because at the end of the day, it's still going to look super cool. And yeah, don't worry about it. I often move my stuff around and throw it around, and I've got Elvis sat there. I've got he's there. I mean, honestly, I've got a snake in the kitchen. Sounds good, doesn't it? Snake in the kitchen. That'll be another one. I decided that I'll do this one. Then I'll do the snake. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, again, look at the video about finishing what you start, because it'll give you some insight into why we're here today doing this. I'll finish the snake, and then, oh God, and then the big man, Mr. Elvis, which, yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. But as I promised you, I will finish him, because he deserves to be finished, so I've got to do it. And then I'll have a nice clean slate, everything will be where I want it, and then I can do a new project. Oh, I've got a few ideas about that, which I will keep closely guarded, because we're not thinking about anything new, we're thinking about finishing what we started first. What I do, you see what I'm doing here? I'm working with the clay. I've got clay here. Now, when you work this clay, I don't know if it works for everybody. My hands get really hot, so I think that's the magic. It's the magic going into the clay. My hands get really hot, so it's ideal, because I keep piece here, which is in my palm, and I just do that, and then I work the clay, and this is always staying at a steady temperature. So, and then I've got this one in here and in my pockets that's all heating up at the same time. So I'm glad you've got a chance to see what I said in the video softening polymer clay. You're seeing it actually happening now, so you know that I wasn't just making it up. But this is really like, oh my God, it's so lovely. It's got such a great texture right now. It's like, it's so easy to get it where you want it to be. And you couldn't really believe it, really, because this stuff, it is quite warm in here today, but this stuff, honestly, that's this. It's this stuff, look. It's just like, when you get it delivered, if you order it and it comes and you look at it and go, well, I can't work with that, you can. Just need a little bit of body heat and a little bit of time, and then you end up with this. But keep a little bit in your palm, and then work the little pieces in your hand, and it works a treat. Honestly, can't tell you right now how warm this clay is. I mean, it's ridiculously warm. And it's how you work with polymer clay. It's how I've done it. And I mean, can you imagine if I was doing these size sculptures with rock hard clay all the time? It just wouldn't. Well, I'd go insane. I'd literally go insane. Right, it's kind of interesting doing this on camera. I'm trying to show you what I'm doing, but obviously I'd have to be where you are to do that. And I've got all the detail on my side, you've got no detail on your side, but I'm desperately trying to show you what I'm doing, and it's nothing fancy, I can assure you that. I'm just building up layers, because I need this tail to have some proper structure. I'm putting slightly larger kind of scale shape stuff on at the moment. I'm looking at this at the bottom here, and the scales are a lot smaller, so I might have to come back over with some slightly smaller ones to break it up a bit, because these look a little bit too big to match the rest of the tail. But this is what you do, you see, you just make it up as you go along. Story of my life. So, oh, excuse me. Yeah, so it is what it is. As I said in other videos, just have fun. Stop worrying. There's enough worry in the world. You don't need to worry about anything. Just get on with it. Get it on there. And once you relax, the clay will relax, and you both work in symmetry together, and it really starts to become fun then. So yeah, just next at 25 minutes already. See, that's what I mean. You can lose hours with this stuff, you know. I hope you haven't fallen asleep. I think we're going to be like, I don't know if we're going to get it to oven stage in one video, because these scales are taking some time to do. Well, that's not a bad thing, I suppose. Maybe I could do 2, I don't know, unless you want to stick around. I mean, I don't know, longer video, shorter video. I mean, I guess you could watch it in stages if I make a longer one. I think I'll probably make this about 40 minutes. And wherever we're at, maybe I'll do that and then do another one where I get it to the point of going, I'll do it all, I'll shoot it all in one day, but I'll break it up into a couple of videos so you guys can watch them in 2 different videos. But honestly, look, this clay is like super soft, and you won't believe, if you've not actually made anything from polymer clay yet, you won't believe just how hard it goes. I mean, I've pre-baked this. This is going to be a structure for one of the wings I'm going to put on here. I mean, you can drill that, and that's this. It's just mental. Oh dear. So yeah, so as you can see, I'm just building up the tail with little idea of how I'm going to get to the spirally bit. I'm trying to do it in front of you. It's really hard to do. It's like working back to front. Don't blame me if it looks horrible, but you know what I mean. Just get it on there. Yeah, stop worrying about it. Need some clay. Yeah. I think the world today is all about everyone worrying all the time. You don't need to worry. Just do what you need to do. You know what I mean? Just do what you need to do. Stop worrying. You see now that clay is still, it's still really soft. Look. I mean, it's the only way I've found to soften it is body heat. If you put it in the oven, it's a dangerous game, you know. I've been through that. Again, all on the video. Watch the video about softening polymer clay. But this is the technique I use, and works a treat. It just cuts down so much waiting time, waiting for it to soften down in your hands. And then obviously when you start a new batch, you need to condition it. You basically squeeze it all together, get everything working, get all the stuff inside the clay mixed together nicely, so that when you bake it, it all reacts properly, because there's a chemical, I think a chemical and well, there's some sort of, it just basically melts, and when it cools, it gets rock hard, like I've just shown you. So yeah, make sure you do a bit of the old massage on it first. Don't just take it straight out of tin foil and start sculpting. And then again, the same thing, put the lump in your hand, and then just start working with the smaller bits and keep this bit in your hand. This gets interesting when you're working with the black colour clay. It gets a little bit messy. I normally have to wash my hands several times while working with that stuff, because yeah, it gets really bad. Okay, so yeah, so we're just building up here. I'm trying to make these scales a bit smaller. I think I've been a bit zealous with my sizing this morning, but just make them a little bit smaller. And again, you can always overlay again on top. It all adds to the feature of the overall sculpture anyway, and it gives it more strength. And yeah, you can. But as you can see, you know, just At the moment, it just looks like, don't really know what it looks like, to be honest. It'll get better. It'll get better. I might even make it slightly thinner in a minute, because you can do that as well. You just squash it down, and if you lose any of the textures that you've put on any of the lines that you put on, then you just put a few more on top. But really, in honesty, the idea of doing this is because I need it to be strong, because that egg is quite heavy. It's like marbly, that egg, so there's going to be some weight in it. Right, so, oh gosh, why did I grow my hair? I can't see what I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm just basically building up a structure. You know what I mean? The clay, I have 100% faith in the clay knowing where it wants to be. I honestly do. I like that policy. Just let it be where it wants to be. Takes all the pressure off and makes it more fun. It does definitely do what it wants to do, and so it should. I think artists in general, like painters and stuff like that, I mean, I don't think their brush, I think their brush knows where it wants to go a little bit as well. I think it just comes through you and into the thing you're working with, really, whether it's paint, whether it's clay or whatever. Right, so I'm not going to be able to finish that side of it facing you, because it's just getting a bit ridiculous now, to be honest. But I just wanted to show you how I was doing it. So I'll spin it round, then you can kind of see what I've done on the other side. So as you can see, it's kind of gone from thin back to thicker, but I need to blend the colour in a bit as well. You can do what you want with it. I mean, you literally can. That's what I love about this stuff. You can just see what I could do here. Because I need to keep the strength, but I could just do this. I could just do this. This is what I could do. And you're like, oh no, you've lost all your scales. Like, yeah, I have, but this is what we do, you know, there's always more scales, don't worry. It's got to flow. You can't, you know, it's got to flow. It's got to look right, basically. So you have to sometimes sacrifice the work you've just done to get the feel of what you want it to look like, basically. Now that looks better, because you see the fatter thing here, and then as it comes up, it starts to blend it. I'll blend that in a bit more in a bit, but I can't really get the angle to show you what I've done, but apart from wreck it, see bits falling off it. Oh, right, I'll put some more on. This is the whole joy of this stuff, you know, you don't need to worry, just get on with it. Right, what I need to do is I need to work out how I'm going to get that on there. How am I going to get that on there? How am I going to get out? Right. So, tail comes up, goes thinner. That's not working, he's falling off, so you can go. Tail comes up, it's got a nice structure at the bottom, it gets thinner. See, this is stuff that you just have to do sometimes. You just have to kind of work it out as you go. Tail goes to the left. maybe tail. Make sure you blend this in, otherwise I won't have any strength to it. So I basically need to make this tail quite long, and then I need to curl it around that egg. That's what I need to do. And then we can worry about all the features and textures and everything else afterwards. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I like that. But see, this what happens when this clay's soft. It's like, I like, see, you can get a little bit frustrated with it, but you know, isn't that part of life? Sometimes you just have to persevere. It can be a little bit of a nuisance at times, but you just have to keep working with it. I mean, when it's this soft and you're trying to make some... See, the problem I've got is the tail's not baked. So this is all soft and this is soft. So there's a lot of things going on here. You know, there's a lot. But sometimes you have to work with it like this because it needs to run free, if you know what I mean. But I kind of like the way, I like the way the tail could have like a really weird, almost like the shape of a cobra's head at the end. Well, obviously not a cobra, but I kind of like a diamond almost, diamond shape that kind of wraps around the egg. That would be cool. And it would save me making a really long tail then. Because if I could do that, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it right now. So what I'm thinking is if he has like a diamond shape tail, like that. It doesn't have to be perfect, don't worry about it. No one's judging anyone here, you know. But you know what I'm saying here, like, if that was like a bit of a diamond shape, maybe some attitude in there, which I can change in a minute. See, that looks, I like that. But I think what I'm gonna have to do then, if I'm gonna do that, which won't matter because it kind of works for what I'm trying to do anyway. I need to basically, where's that egg? See, that could sit in there. And then this could wrap around it like that. I think that would look pretty cool. Yeah, I think that would look, it's actually staying there. Ugh. No, it's not. Silly boy. That's what you made this for. See? There. No, he doesn't want to stay there either. All right, you get the point. I'm a nutter. Okay. I know that will work. That will definitely work. That will work. I'll make sure it does. But I think this needs to be bigger. Bigger, bigger, bigger. A much bigger and more attitude-y kind of thing on the end here. It will look great. Really like that idea. See, sometimes it just gives you something, you know, it gives you inspiration and you're like, oh, that's a really good idea, I like that. That's what I like about this stuff. See, now we've got this really sort of, we've got this really kind of funky, like leafy, cobra-y kind of strange element to the end of the tail now, which, you know, can kind of wrap around the egg in this kind of cool fashion. Oh, I'm moving it around too much, sorry. But it will wrap around and then it will sit on here. It will sit on here and it'll be kind of like, well, it won't be there to be fair, it'll be, what am I doing, come on Paul. It will sit slightly to the side and it'll pop up a bit, and then this will attach to that, and then that, yeah, I know what I'm trying to do. I can do it. It's fiddly, not gonna lie, but it looks better from my side. I don't know if I can turn it around. It will look cool. I mean, not right now, it doesn't. But obviously, it'll look cooler with the egg in it. You can't still see it, but it'll work. I'll make it work. But I kind of like having the big feature at the end of the tail. Yeah, I actually like that a lot. And what I'm going to do here, I've made a decision. This is almost like an egg cup at the bottom now. What I'm going to do is a bit of a cheat in a way, but because obviously I'm dealing with really soft clay, I'm going to make that like that, and like that, and like that, and maybe like that a bit, and like that, and like that, and like that. Just make it really funky. And make it like that, and then I will make some sort of feature to make it look like the tail has wrapped itself up a little bit to get to this point, so it doesn't look odd. But it's a fantasy dragon. I mean, there's no rules. It doesn't have to be completely symmetrical. It doesn't have to be completely, I can do what I want. It's my choice. Anyway, this video is going on a bit and I'm a bit worried. So I think what I'll do is have a cup of tea, do a bit more, and then I'll bring you back when, what do you want me to do? Bring you back when I've, why am I asking you? I'm in charge. Right, what I'll do, I'll leave it here where it is now. And then I'll do a little bit more on this. So it's pretty much nearly ready for the oven. Then I'll come back, we'll finish it. We'll finish any bits that I want to do to it, any more scales and stuff like that. And then I'll put it in the oven, and I'll bring it out of the oven, and then we'll take the foil off it and see if the egg sits in it. Sounds like a plan. Right, see you in a bit.